Welcome to another edition of Action 14. We bring you information from the city, the school, and the arts. I start tonight with the mayor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure to be on TV 14 and talk with our viewing audience.
We've feels like we're getting some winter weather now, doesn't it?
Well, you know, it's hard to jump from fall into spring and skip winter.
That's right.
So I guess it was inevitable, and certainly it looks like this week we're going to get some of our first snowfall, so that's okay too.
Is the utilities all ready to move the snow and take everything out? I saw there's some leaves yet to scoop up, but
we were hoping this week to get all the leaves done before the snow came, and for the most part, if we do get any snow, let's hope it melts a little bit. And I know my leaf pile was out on my street this morning, but you know, if we get a couple days where it's even in mid-30s, it'll melt, and they'll be able to get to it, and then it'll shut it off for the year. They always stop picking those up before Thanksgiving, so you know, then they're pretty much 99% finished with it. But it's always an inconvenience because the timing is never perfect. You can't handle that too well. Mother Nature doesn't let us know about that stuff.
Well, I hate to bring up bad news first, but let's talk about some bad news regarding the fact that we are not going to get anyone else to pay for any railroad crossing lights.
Unfortunately, I think that you hit the nail on the head. The application, we had it written up by our consultant, he knows railroad speak. You got to know how to talk the language, and he knows how to do that. And unfortunately, the standards, and there's nationwide standards that the Office of Commissioner of Railroad, OCR in Wisconsin, each state goes by the same standards nationwide, and those standards are pretty strict. There's not too much wiggle room in them, and based on the standards nationwide, unfortunately, we don't have the road traffic crossing the tracks, and we don't have the rail traffic on the tracks to warrant additional, what they call net cost of safety measures.
Right.
And it's pretty extensive. One of the things, one of the standards says that you have to have a line of sight, a triangle at the crossing, and we have the line of sight at the correct speed of the vehicle traffic that's designated for being able to stop in time. And there are whistles that they're mandatory that the train blow. And then another standard is the echo standard, where for some reason in industrial areas, maybe you have buildings next to the tracks and they're higher buildings, so the echo is muffled, so to speak. The properties along the tracks and at the intersections are back far enough that there's no muffling going on. They actually came out and tested it. And so all of the requirements in order to say, yep, put crossings in and we'll pay for them, aren't there.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. Growing up on a railroad myself, to be honest, it was a long shot when we made out the application. I think it's a matter of who's reviewing it sometimes, because the fact that we have the schools, and that's important. But they're pretty rigid on those, There is an appeal procedure. We're currently looking at that, whether or not it makes sense to litigate that and at what cost it would be, because it would be on us.
Okay.
There's not a resource to litigate that for us. And unfortunately, when you try to overcome the so-called experts, which OCR is the expert, you have to somehow prove that their standards nationwide are incorrect. That's a pretty high bar, and to go down that track and say, okay, we're going to challenge this, it would take years to do, and if you're unsuccessful, there's no recourse.
Yeah,
So it's a long shot. There is an appeal process. The council will have to decide eventually if they want to go down that road.
Okay. Yeah, and understand, they are not inexpensive. We're talking over 300,000
For each one,
for each light.
yeah, and that isn't cheap.
No.
Where do you get that from? You know, we need an ambulance, we need a fire truck, we need to maintain services. We have a 17% increase in our gas and oil and material budget this year. We're pulling our hair out trying to find $1 or $2 here and there, and then to throw in another 600 grand. You know, it's literally not in the budget,
Right.
unfortunately. And there's maybe some ways to pick up some of the money through grants or donations or whatever thing. But when you're trying to raise 600 grand, that's a lot of money. And, the standards are what they are. We'll just have to let it play out and see where we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk about budget. It's that time of year. Budgets, I'm sure you've got the numbers now, and you'll be voting on it shortly to set our budget for next year and get everything set.
That's right. We approved the budget this week, and we unfortunately are having the same budget problems at City Hall as we do at home.
Yep.
In our own budgets and businesses where fuel costs are up 9 to 15%, actually up more now toward the end of the year because they were low in January. We're paying substantially higher now than we were in January. All of our services, for instance, garbage, there's a fuel rise contract verbiage in there that as their price of fuel goes up, they get to bill the city, and so we're like 24,000 in the hole on garbage pickup that wasn't budgeted because of the fuel costs,
Right.
Surcharge that's being put on. So it's real hard. I'm thinking that our budget will come in about 1 to 2% over last year, which, considering all the factors, I think it's a very good budget. We held the line on the total expenditure side. We dipped into some reserves in order to balance some of the budget. We were fortunate, knock on wood, last year some of our winter funds weren't used for snow plowing.
True.
But we could eat that up if we have an early winter this year, and the Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be a heavy one.
Yep.
We had that a few years ago where we used 1.5 years budget in 1 year. So whatever we carried over, about 40%, that could get eaten up real quick because it doesn't take long when you start putting machinery out on the road.
Right.
And we do have 2 new plows, which hopefully will not get broken down and cause us problems there. But our overall increase, we're trying to guess at a average homeowner, it'll cost them $10 a month or $120 a year for the city portion. Of course, there's 4 taxing authorities that go into your property tax bill. Lakeshore Technical College is very small, and it doesn't really affect it much at all, if any. The county is the biggest one, and fortunately, their budget went down this year.
Okay.
So, and the school,
And
is the 4th part of that, and we're hoping that the county decrease and the city increase will offset whatever the 2 school systems do. And if we come out even, then maybe that's the best case situation.
Okay. All right.
But it's real hard. We're up over 1%. In some categories, we're up 5% in expenditures. And then you have the fringe benefit package and the wages across the board and all that. We're competing. We lost a couple employees, good employees. All our employees are valuable to us, but we lost a couple to industry because they were bringing in 30,000 more in industry.
Sure.
We can't compete with a $30,000 offer on the outside. It just isn't there. And we certainly don't blame those employees for taking that opportunity because they both moved to another area, and it's the best thing for their family, and we recognize that. But we try to make our campus a welcoming campus for all of our employees, and in turn, they sell us and our city and our schools to our residents. And so we're very fortunate that we have dedicated employees, but it is inflation 102, unfortunately.
Of course.
And it's hitting the city just like everybody else.
City manager, he got his first look at a full budget year for Plymouth, the city of Plymouth, and I'm sure he got an education and a half.
He did. He had a lot of questions, and he commented to me a couple of times that he has really pestered the staff to get some background, which is good. They want to be involved in it, and they were very involved in it. It came together rather quickly, I think, because he had previous experience in budget preparation. But it seems like we have a very good nucleus of team support.
Okay.
And that makes a lot of difference. I know I was especially pleased this year because I didn't have to get as involved as I was last year. And that's why we hire the manager to do that job. And I think we'll be pleasantly surprised with what comes forward.
Okay.
And the public hearing will be presented. So I feel that we're in a good position going forward.
At the same time, the costs have gone up for the city in certain areas. The utilities, electrical is going to be going up for everybody in Plymouth. We're going to see a jump, aren't we?
That's something that the city has, you could say, 2 departments, the city side of it and the utility side of it. And our utility side is about a $38 million budget, and about 90% of that is the purchase price of electricity out on the grid, and we're part of a Wisconsin Public Power Consortium, and they're on the grid in the marketplace with the big boys. So that gives us strength in numbers. Having said that, their numbers are up 9%, 20%, and we purchased through that consortium, We're averaging for the year 9% increase. It's actually closer to 18% right now because the beginning of the year, it was 1 or 2%. So the average has run us in the 9 to 11% category, and we're already projecting next year that that's going to hit 15%.
Yep.
And that's only the electric bill. We don't have gas. That's a separate utility that we don't own, and they have already received rate increases through the Wisconsin Public Service Commission for 14 and 23%, I think,
Wow.
increase on gas, and some of that's already in effect. We'll be putting our application in for approval. We'll be working on that next month in December, submitting that, and we're requesting a July 1st date of increase for our electric utility. We feel we'll get it because the numbers show that we are losing maybe $250,000 a month.
Okay.
It doesn't take much to run your cash reserves down when you're losing $250,000 a month and 10 months go by. You know, that's a slick 2.5, and
Yeah.
there's no way to recover it. And we're required to maintain certain reserve standards according to state and federal law. So that's coming on the horizon. We're already footing the bill, and we can't go back and recoup that. We can only start a rate increase when approval comes from the commission.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to get that in and have the public hearing requirement, and we're shooting for July 1st to start our rate increase. It's tough, but if we don't do it, we're not going to be able to maintain our service.
And it's
the
tough
way we
everywhere.
have
It's
it.
not just
Yeah.
Plymouth. It's tough everywhere this is affecting every community, every person that has a house with electricity and,
Yeah.
and gas. It's affecting them all.
And our utility grid is like 35 miles in length and about 4 miles in width. It's kind of like an hourglass that goes way down into the town of Scott and goes way up past Johnsonville and Lakeland College. So it's really a big area, and there's a lot of customers on that. I'm going to say 14,000 customers.
Okay.
So it's a huge area, and there's a residential rate, and then there's a industrial rate that is set by the state. So we're looking at that coming forward, and that's going to affect people's household budgets and their business budgets, unfortunately. Our biggest customer is Johnsonville Sausage.
Certainly.
And for their numbers to jump up 15%, it's going to be a challenge.
Sure.
And it's a challenge for us, but we can't hold off any longer on that. Yeah.
It's all part of the problem that we're expecting.
Yeah, inflation just doesn't hit at the grocery store,
Right.
it hit gas station,
Yeah.
everywhere in between, yeah.
I would like to ask a question about some digging and laying of cable/fiber in the front in my lawn. They've been digging and laying fiber in South Hills and throughout the area in different places. And what can you tell us about that?
Well, first off, I gave him your address.
Thank you.
To do that one first. No, we have two companies right now that are laying fiber optic, and we have a third company that will probably start in the beginning of the year, maybe March, doing their fiber optic. They're all laying what they call the main grid right now. And all of this activity, I think, is a good thing.
Well, what our people have to understand is that we have 3 different companies looking to lay this fiber down. They are going to be in competition
Exactly.
when it is completed. And
Exactly.
competition gives you possibly lower rates
Lower rates.
and possibly better quality.
Well, each one that has come to us with a proposal and been given the go-ahead to lay their main fiber optic line, because eventually whoever you choose to tap into could be a 2 gig to 10 gig private line. Private, I'm not probably saying that word correctly, private connection where you don't share it with the subdivision or the neighbor or the person down the block.
You'll have to bring the fiber into your building, into your house,
Yeah,
which is a little more digging yet, but nevertheless, they're laying, the city approved these companies to lay the cable and the fiber starting, what, about a month ago or two?
yeah. A month ago is where they started, and you see it on some of the, I call them the main drags, the thoroughfares. And then as they get those pieces in place, then they will start doing the advertising and sign up customers with guaranteed rates. And they say for a lot, not all, but an awful lot of the residences and businesses, that they'll be able to do the cable iZoom, where it just goes through the ground and comes up next to your house without digging necessarily. Obviously, there's always some digging because they have to lay the box in, but they're minimum digging, and everybody will have their own cable connect for a fee, and they've all come with different proposals. So it's up to competition to determine whether or not they want this one or this one, because it could be all 3 are going past the house.
Certainly.
In some areas.
And at the same time, they will be, it's not going to happen overnight. This is a 2 or 3 year job.
Oh, yeah, 2 or 3, exactly.
Yeah, so you're not going to get something in your mailbox, sign up today.
Correct.
It's going to be a while, because it takes a while to lay all this cable and fiber.
This is hundreds of miles of cable that they have to go around everything. And it's really quite we saw a couple videos, and it looks like angleworms running through. I don't know how they do that, but it's really cool.
But it's going to be happening throughout the city and the area over the next 2 and 3 years, and then we will see possibly some benefits.
Correct, yeah. So there won't be any hookups until that 2 or 3 year period. And when the time comes, they will have badges that are approved by the city, identification, so that, you don't wonder who's running around your backyard.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing, when they do it, they'll be doing, block by block, a section, not hinter and yon type of thing. So it'll be interesting. It's actually exciting to see that much activity, because we all know that competition is the name of the game, and we're looking, we have 3 great proposals that are coming forward, and they're all in the same ballpark.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being on.
You're welcome.
We've given a lot of information to our city and the people watching. If you want more information, come to the city council meetings. They are the second and last Tuesday of the month down at City Hall.
7 o'clock.
Starting at 7 p.m. Be part of what's happening in the city. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
When we come back, we're going to be talking the art world, so stay right with us. You're watching Action 14. As promised, we're going to be talking art now. I've got Donna Hahn here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. Hi.
Before we start, I have to say that there is so much talk and positive about the Veteran Tribute Concert. Sold out all 4 shows.
The first weekend we didn't sell out, but we still had a really good house. And the second week we were packed tight.
You had to actually add a few chairs and tables. And it was fantastic.
It
I have
was.
talked to 2 or 3 veterans who were just overcome by what you were able to do. And Julie Overby was able to put together. What a job.
Well, we're so proud of Julie and her whole cast and crew for bringing the show to us and performing on our stage. And we were just thrilled to have them all there. And they're all so talented. And, you know, we are so fortunate to have that caliber of talent in our community.
Yeah, I went through the Veteran Tribute Concert booklet here, and each person is in it that was on the stage nearly, and it
Yes.
was fantastic.
Well, Julie, you know, she chose such beautiful music, and she coordinated it with the style of music, with the era,
Yeah.
and the performer. Everything just fit together so wonderfully, and we couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, and in fact, I was talking to a couple veterans, and they say, boy, I hope they do this every year. You know, I'm not going to put it, I'm just throwing it out there that they were so impressed that they would be right back in the seat next year.
It was our pleasure to, present this, and I've asked Julie. She'll need a year off, but, who knows?
Yep.
Maybe in the future.
Good, good. Well, let's talk about what's happening in the future now. One of the
Okay.
things we've got to talk about is we got the holiday open house is coming up. That's going to be starting December 2nd.
Yes, that's our holiday membership show, our exhibition in the gallery, which features our members' artwork. And then we're going to have a big party along with that. So there'll be music by Mary Fellons and Dan Ognovic, and lots of hors d'oeuvres and desserts. And it's free, open to the public. We invite everyone to come down and, see the show and find out who the winners are. The awards will be presented at 6:30.
Yeah, Lori Beringer is the person that's going to be judging these,
Yes.
and you couldn't ask for a better person
Yes,
to do that.
and she's one of the founders of the Plymouth Arts Center, so we're very glad to have her.
But and then it's open to the public until into January.
January 13th, I believe
Yes.
it ends, yes. So
Yes.
it's on the wall for a good long time.
And if you saw something on the wall as you are visiting, it's possible that you could actually own it and take it home.
You could, for this particular show, we do allow the paintings to leave before the end of the show. And so if you find something, buy it, put it under the Christmas tree.
Right.
And we'll replace it with another piece from the same artist.
Yes, because the artists, you have to be a member, and the artists are putting everything from oils to watercolors to
Sculpture,
sculpture, pottery.
glass,
Yeah,
pottery.
it's going to be, it always is a nice mixture of
Yes.
different items.
We have about, I think, over 75 pieces again that'll be in this show. So there'll be a lot to pick from.
And that starts on December 2nd, and you have a 4:30 to 7:30 gathering on December 2nd to say, let's get the show on the road.
And if you've never been to the Art Center, this will be a good opportunity to just drop in and, check out the gift shop,
Oh, yes.
check out the gallery, see what we do. If you'd like a little tour, I'm sure there'd be somebody available
Certainly.
to take you around. And we'll be all very busy, getting the hors d'oeuvres out. And, but we're glad to, help out
Yeah.
wherever needed.
Well, one of the items coming up before that is actually happening on the Christmas parade, which is the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Right.
You're having some activity going on at the Arts Center right after the parade?
It's actually before the
Before
parade.
the parade,
yeah.
from,
From 5 to 7.
Yeah.
You can come
and the
to
parade starts at 7.
Yes, come to our classroom. And Liz Higgins, our education coordinator, has got some nice ornament making planned for families. And you can just drop in. It's completely free. And you can, make it there, or if you, don't have time, you could, pack up the kit and take it with you. But, it's for families.
And so that's on the 25th, which is the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Before the parade. The big parade starts at 7 p.m. in downtown Plymouth.
And we're part of the chili cook-off.
Oh.
So the Chambers, that's the Chambers event.
Yeah.
So if you want to come and taste our chili and vote for our chili.
That's right.
You can come and, do that. While the kids are making the ornaments, the parents can go and taste the chili, or the grandparents can go and taste the chili.
Yep.
And make it a family night.
Yep, and let's talk about Christmas, though. The Colors of Christmas is coming up. That's the Arts Center's choir, if you will.
Yes, we call them the Plymouth Arts Center Singers. And it's been a great title for us all these years.
Yeah.
And the choir is directed by Barb Zerwas-Neisy. And again, we have over 35 people in the choir. We range from 25 to 50. It could be anywhere in between, depending on everyone's schedule. And this year, I think there's over 35.
Wow.
And it's just a beautiful show. And of course, it's sponsored by, our local businesses, and Paul and Kathy Sartori.
Yep.
And let's see, who do we have here? The Marie Sartori Memorial Fund and Sargento.
Yep, and it's happening December 3rd, 4th.
It's a Saturday night and a Sunday afternoon. So you have two shows to choose from.
So it's Saturday night the 3rd or Sunday afternoon the 4th. There's two shows, and that's the only shows you're going to get.
That's the only ones.
Yeah, and then because they have performed for years.
Well, it started back in 1999.
Is that right?
Yes, with our very first Broadway review.
Wow.
And from that time on, we have had a choral show every year, except in the pandemic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But they've had one from 1999. Wow, it just,
yeah.
because some of us still remember when the Arts Center first opened, and then it's been redone, and
Yes.
it's such a special
But
place.
the choir first started with Freddie Nordyke in 99, and it was a group of 12. And some of those original performers are still performing with us with the big choir, and some, have branched out and are doing other things. But we're, as I said before, we're so grateful for the talent that we have.
In Little Plymouth, Wisconsin, yes. And to have an arts center like we do in Plymouth. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, let's talk about New Year's Eve.
Well, yes.
It's going to happen.
I can't believe it's coming up already.
Well, we've got to talk about it because it's going to happen whether we talk about it or not, but you have annually, it's the Sartori Cheese Drop.
Yes, and that's at 10 o'clock. And it'll be the same. The fire department will come and drop the Sartori cheese in our plaza area.
Yeah.
Park on North Street. And, it's a free event. We'll have the first 250 families that are in attendance will receive a gift bag from the Sartori Company. And it's a little bag of cheese, and it's probably a $15 value for sure.
Certainly.
So you'll want to come and get your cheese, and then bring your noisemakers and your cheese head hats and whatever kind of, festive memorabilia you'd like to bring along.
But even though the cheese drop is outside, you're going to have activities going on inside.
Yes.
It's starting at what, about 8:30?
8:30, we're having the Too Cool tribute band. It's
Yep.
a 50s, 60s tribute band. And this is the first time they're with us on New Year's Eve.
But they have
So-
played in Plymouth before.
We've had sock hops with them, and we're going to have a sock hop again in January. But we thought it would be fun to, get everybody warmed up for the sock hop and have them come out and play on New Year's Eve from 8:30 to midnight. And then at midnight, we're going to have our typical champagne toast. So come and enjoy the music, do a little dancing, and then toast the New Year in
Yeah,
at midnight.
it was so special. I was watching CBS, I think, Sunday morning, where they had come and taped the Plymouth Cheese Drop.
Yes.
They actually have. We made national news
Yes.
with the cheese drop in Plymouth, Wisconsin.
Yes, quite a few times actually.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
many of the channels have, it's not the same every year. They kind of take turns, but we're probably going to be on again.
Yeah.
And a lot of radio stations cover it, and so we're very glad for the coverage.
And you know the date. That's
Yes.
easy enough.
Saturday.
Yeah, it's the 31st to the 1st, and it's so at 8:30 things will start up.
Yes.
The cheese drop is at 10 p.m. For those of us who can't stay up till midnight.
Right.
And then, but you will have music till
Starting-
midnight.
yeah, starting
You'll
at
have the
8:30.
champagne toast at midnight.
We're trying to find a way to get that music pumped outside. We'll see if we can manage it or not. But we do have a bonfire going out front, so you can warm up by the bonfire
Yeah.
and have some hot chocolate and just enjoy the evening.
And that's great that we can do this all this in Plymouth. It's
Only in
fantastic.
Plymouth.
Only in Plymouth. Well, I should talk about one other item. You've got some digital photography workshop coming up.
Yes, we do have some other classes that are coming up as well. So I always tell people, please check our Facebook page or our website because we're always adding those. And this particular one is with Tom Ferguson and a digital photography workshop on Saturday, January 28th, in our classroom from 1 to 4 o'clock. And it's going to be, just he's a great photographer. So you'll want to come and learn how to use your camera.
Yeah, you can go to PlymouthArts.org,
.org.
PlymouthArts.org, and check what's happening at the Arts Center. But my advice is to stop down. Give us the hours again that the Arts open.
Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 4, and then Saturday and Sunday from noon to 3.
And it's always free, always open.
Always free entry to the gallery, thanks to our sponsors, and, the gift shop is there. And
Yeah, stop down, see what's in the gift shop, see what other activities are happening or classes are happening, so you can be part of what's happening in the Arts Center.
Right. We have had people buy gift certificates for memberships for those folks that, I just don't know what to get them. And so, you might think about a gift membership to the Plymouth Arts Center. And for that, they will get discounts on some of the tickets that we sell. Some of the classes are reduced for members. And you'll always get our notices in the mail when you have a membership.
You've been at this a long time, and it's growing every year.
Yes.
It's been fun. It's been fun to see how the Arts Center has grown over the last couple decades.
Yes.
It's been fantastic. Now something happening all the time.
Yes, in 2023, we start our 30th membership year.
Oh, that's great. 30 years.
Yes.
Fantastic.
30 years of membership and 28 years of being in the building. So we always had those first 2 years where we were, planning
Yeah.
and getting the building ready. But yeah, 30 years.
Wow. Changing it from a car dealership to the neatest arts center around.
Well, thank you.
Yes, it's fantastic.
We think so.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to thank you for being on. I want to tell everybody to be part of what's happening in the Arts Center. Stop down, see what they have going, see if there's something that interests you, particularly the month of December when you have all of the different items on the wall. 75 items are going to be on the wall or around that you might want something to take home.
And we'd like to wish all of your viewers, Mike, a very happy holiday season and a great new year.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being on.
Thanks,
When we
Mike.
come back, I'm going to have the superintendent here talking about what's happening in the schools and how we're making changes and always trying to get better. So stay right with us. You're watching Action 14. Good stuff. Welcome back to Action 14. We're going to wrap things up by talking to Dan Mella, Superintendent of the Plymouth School District. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are done with the first quarter, and we've had parent-teacher conferences. Things are looking very nice.
Things are looking very nice, and we've had a good start to the school year. We've had some school dances are back and happening, and yeah, some of the normal things that we had always had, like the parent-teacher conferences, are back, and so a lot of that is really great to see.
It's good to have everyone back. I think what I really enjoyed, however, was the understanding that attendance matters. You know, it shouldn't surprise anybody, but we've had a loss of attendance in the 8th graders over the last year, and it affected their ability to do the ACTs and all of the testing that is required. They struggled.
Right, well, and there were different varying levels of attendance in the school district. In general, and this is kind of statewide, since COVID, there still is some remnant of COVID where, remember last year, we're looking at last year's data, that it looks like some kid, at that time, you still had quarantines going on. If you had symptoms or you tested positive, you were out for 5 days, and if you got it twice, that was 10. But yeah, in a couple of our grades, particularly the 8th grade was the example that we looked at, indicated that that was a high level of students that had 10 days of absence or more.
Right.
A higher percentage than any of the other grades. It just so happened it was that grade. But it also correlated to, annually we do testing, we do our own internal testing, assessments and grades and all of that, but also there's external ones. But that high level of absenteeism correlated to a kind of a leveling off of achievement in that year. Remember, that's an average. I mean, lots of kids did super great. They were there all the time.
Yep.
But then some other kids, we had a number of kids miss significant time. We're talking 50 and 60 days
Yes.
of school, which is, you're looking at it, it's a quarter of their entire school year. And so on average, what we found was that there was a pretty noticeable correlation with a decrease in achievement from what would have been expected. So yeah, attendance really matters and really affects achievement.
Right.
And so that's been a focus of ours with, bringing in web and link crew, but also working with our PATH program. Some of this relates to mental and emotional health,
Right.
which we've all seen an uptick in needs. And so that all pulls kids away too. And it's definitely an area of concern when you see any individual student who's missing a lot of class. And so we try to react. We definitely want to work with families, bring in resources, because those missing days pile up, and then it's really hard to kind of get back in the swing of things.
And about Dina Budrecki is the one that was giving this presentation. But now the positive side is students that are in extracurricular activities, whether it's in the band, whether it's in the chorus, whether it's in the plays, in the athletics, do so much better.
Correct. Since I was the principal back 15, 20 years ago, we started tracking student GPAs versus number of activities that they were in. And what we found every single year, it varies, the GPA varies every year, but in general, kids that are involved in something, any one thing, if they're involved in something, they're more than likely going to be at least one grade higher on average than students who are involved in nothing. And some years it goes as much as 2 grades. So an A to a C, just because you're involved or somebody isn't. And that's a correlation that's been an annual truth every year since I've been here and we've been tracking it.
And also, if you're in an activity, if you're in extracurricular, you come to school every day.
You have to.
Because you got practice.
Right.
Yeah, and so...
you're not going to do very well as the lead in the play if you didn't practice it.
Right. And so, so it also correlates with the idea that if you're active in items, extracurricular, you attend school more, you do better in classes, it all just comes together.
And sometimes people will say, well, I don't think we should, my kid or students might say, maybe I don't want to be in something because it'll take too much time away and then I won't have time to study. But if that were true,
Right.
Kids that weren't in anything would have the highest GPA, and they have the lowest GPA on average.
Right.
So I think what it shows is that if you've got to, spend 2 or 3 hours after school in an activity, you also have to manage your time. So you're always thinking and you're organizing yourself so that you can get done your homework and your studying, along with doing the practice that you're doing for your activity.
Right.
So I think it's a great time management skill builder.
Yeah, having my youngest son was in sports year round. He was in 3 sports, in the band, in the German band, and
Wearing his lederhosen.
yeah, and never missed a day of school. And busy all the time, but also understood how to manage your time. And I think that's important. The sooner a student and an adult learn how to manage time, the better they can do in everything.
Right. I think some of those, as you look at college applications, or kids are finishing up with college, you look at resume builders and people, having a good GPA or having, achieved in your scholastic side of things is important. But just as important are all the other things that you did. And if you can demonstrate that you were in these activities or these clubs or whatever it might be, and you still had, a solid GPA and you still did, and you still achieved, well, it shows that, okay, this is the kind of person that can come into our organization or come into the college, and we can expect that they're going to be disciplined and organized enough and self-motivated enough to get these things done. So we can count on them. This is probably a good hire or maybe a good fit coming into our institution. So it has benefits, and I think the correlations are borne out over time.
It was a neat item, though, to have Dina Budrecki explain that to the group, that we're still studying it, we still find that this is how it works, and we're still making headway, I guess, if you will.
Right, and we also discovered that it's about the 5th grade year, at least for us. We've studied that too. Some of our teachers did a study on it. Paul Krasaniak and Dan Knaus did a study, and they found that kids all want to be involved, and then it turns about 5th grade, and then there's kind of this change where they start saying, well, I don't want to be involved anymore, and other kids are staying involved. And so what we've been trying to do is add opportunities to keep kids involved at around that 5th grade, 6th grade year. Things like our intramural program right after school, golf, dance at the middle school, tennis, all these different kinds of things that are just designed to try to keep an interesting activity or staying connected to school part of a kid's life. And so we're working on it on a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about one thing, at least, from the school board meeting, and that's this a sustainability report that you're giving.
Right. The sustainability, it's one of our goals in the district, is to work on sustainability practices in 2 different directions. One is for our workforce. So we want to have a workforce that is attracted but then retained, because retaining your workforce, sustaining your workforce, it helps in many different ways. When teachers leave and staff leave and new staff come in, there's always a transition time, and it's not as good as if you can have longevity of a staff. So we want to maintain that, so that's a sustainability practice. And what we've found after studying is that we have a kind of an annual turnover rate of our professional staff, which is a little bit lower than our turnover rate of our support staff. It's about half. And that is, I think, fairly common. But the question we've been asking is, when people leave, why are they leaving? And we have meetings, we talk to people, we ask that question. So what we find with our professional staff is that about doing this by memory right now, so about 96% of our staff that do leave for family reasons and things, including things like retirement. But family reasons, a spouse took a job somewhere else, somebody's getting married and they're finding a midpoint and they're finding jobs closer to each other. wanting to be at home or closer to home where they grew up. So those kinds of reasons account for about 96% of it with our professional staff, whereas a smaller percentage make a move for a promotion or a change of scenery in terms of their career. So the vast majority of people in so teachers, administrators, those types of folks, make a change, not due to anything related to this school district or another school district. It usually has to do with something with family life.
Okay.
What we found with our support staff is that there's a greater amount of people coming and going with that group every year. So those are people that are your aides, your custodians, your secretaries, your food service. All of those employees tend to work. That one is a little bit more people looking for promotions, or some of those positions that we offer are part-time. Some of those people are looking for full-time work. And that trend has gone up a little bit over the last few years because it's been a great job market for employees, and people can find full-time positions in other locations. So it's about 25 to 26% of people are looking for a step up in work, whether it's full-time or that kind of thing. But still, the majority of people, reasons for leaving are things like family reasons, which include, they're staying home with the kids now, or they've moved, those types of things. Yeah. So the other side of it, the sustainability report that we talk about, is in our physical facilities.
Right.
And that includes everything, our growing part of our facilities, which is our land and soil and grass and trees and all of that. And the other part is our mechanical side, which is lights and power plants and heating, air conditioning and all of that. And so that part of the report is just talking about all of the different things that we're doing to become more efficient in terms of energy and resource usage. So on the grounds, for example, we've had a 90% reduction in our use of herbicides and fertilizers over the last couple of years. That presents some issues because things don't look as manicured as a golf course, but we also don't have chemicals that the kids are running through.
Right.
And so we're experimenting with different organic, natural ways to improve our soils, to improve the look and feel of our outdoor growing spaces. So that's an ongoing adventure. And another one is just our physical plant. We can't just go and replace big boilers because those are $1 million propositions, but we can do a lot with the controls. Just as an example, you can put a $20,000 control, I think it's a VFR, I could be saying the wrong thing, that allows the amount of air, outside air, that gets pulled into a building is based on the square footage and occupancy by the plan of the room.
Okay.
If you put a smart control on it, it will know, for example, this room probably could hold 60 people, the room we're currently sitting in. But if the room is unoccupied and that machine knows it's unoccupied, it will pull in a tiny fraction of outside air instead of what the engineer called for based on a full room. So that tiny fraction only needs a little bit of heat to get able to be used, or it only needs a little bit of air conditioning. Right. So having that smart sensor on that, what the air intake system is, can have a huge impact on our energy bills. And so we installed one at Horizon last year, and it's working, and so we're spending less money at Horizon for something that is doing just as good a job. So those kinds of things, lighting and all of that, we're doing a lot with that to try to increase our efficiency and decrease our costs.
Good. And if we can reduce the cost there, because electricity is going up. I had the mayor on, and he's telling me how much, 15% more for the electricity now, and heating has gone up. We do need to do some things to be careful.
Right, we definitely do, and obviously, we're all under the same pressures of inflationary pressures, but if we can be smart with using smart equipment, we should be better off.
Well, let's wrap things up by saying we've started a new sport now. We're in the winter sports. The first basketball game is 2 days from now. And so we're in basketball, wrestling, swimming, and all happening now at Plymouth High School. We're now into winter sports.
Right, and the middle school started some of their winter sports a few weeks back, and
Yeah.
so it is absolutely rolling. And I think at the high school level, there's about a 2-week window where there aren't activities after
Right.
those fall sports, and so it's kind of quiet. There's no hubbub after school.
Yeah.
Kids are definitely using the training facilities, but now it's full go
That's
again,
right.
and lots of kids involved, and that's fun to see.
That's fantastic. And we just got done with the one stage production, and
Right.
they're working on another one now. And so things are happening throughout the district.
Absolutely, keep them active.
That's right. I want to thank you for being on. I want to wish you the best of luck now as we go through the winter season.
Not a winter guy.
And then we'll talk more about that in the spring.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe I'll be in hibernation for a couple of months.
There you go.
Okay.
But thank you for being on.
But thank you for having me.
And thank you, folks, for watching. Until I see you next time, I'll be seeing you on the radio. Bye-bye.